Did you know that, unless you throw some things in the bin right now, you will never be rich? I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the things in your mind, the beliefs you carry, and the attitudes that keep you stuck in the cycle of poverty. It might sound shocking, but the reality is, you will never achieve financial success or inner peace if you don't take radical action and change your way of thinking. I know, this may sound strange or even contradictory to you, but give me a moment to explain. I want you to imagine for a second. You are standing in front of two doors. One is small, narrow, and dark. The other is open, with light flooding in from all sides, full of space and possibilities. I know, you must be thinking, Bob, which door would you choose? The answer seems simple, right? Of course, the bright door, full of opportunities. But here's the point, most people, without realizing it, live their lives walking towards the dark, narrow door. Why? Because they live with the wrong mindset. They live with a mindset of scarcity. Now, you might be wondering, what is this scarcity mindset? Let me explain. The scarcity mindset is the one that says, I can't have that. There's not enough for everyone. If someone else succeeds, then my success will be smaller. It makes us believe that opportunities are limited, that money is something only a few lucky people get, and that there is always competition for the little that is available. This keeps you in a constant state of fear, insecurity, and lack. And you know what's worse? You start to self-sabotage, because deep down, you believe you don't deserve the abundance the world has to offer. I understand exactly how this works because I've been there. When I started my journey, I was so deep in debt that I felt there was no way out. I would look at people who were thriving and think, why can't I have that? What am I doing wrong? I believed that a successful life was reserved for a small elite, not someone like me. This kind of thinking kept me stuck for a long time, until one day, something inside me said, enough. I'm not going to live like this anymore. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed how people with a scarcity mindset never offer opportunities to those around them? They are so focused on what they don't have, that they can't even see what's already available to them. Have you ever stopped to think how many times you've looked at something and thought, that's not for me? That's the scarcity mindset at work. But the good news is, this mindset can be changed, and the key to that is within you. When you start to open yourself up to possibilities, you realize that the world is full of resources, opportunities, and people willing to help you, and your life starts to change. I know this because I've lived it. And I know you can do it too. I want you to start looking at your life in a different way. Stop seeing things as limited and start recognizing the abundance around you. Here's the trick, whenever you catch yourself thinking that there isn't enough for you, stop. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what can I do to change this situation? How can I see the abundance, even in this tough situation? This passage will help you begin to shift your mindset. And if you still don't believe it's possible, let me tell you about a very well-known example. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in incredibly difficult circumstances, without even a single penny, facing challenges that could have crushed anyone. But she never stopped believing she was meant for more. She always believed that something great was waiting for her. And that is exactly what happened. Her mindset was always rooted in abundance, and through that mindset, she built an entire empire. Oprah never let a lack of resources stop her. Even when everyone around her said otherwise, she saw a world full of opportunities. Now, I'm not saying you need to be like Oprah. I'm saying you can adopt the same mindset and achieve success in your own life. But you have to be willing to look at the world differently. Stop seeing yourself as a victim of disadvantage, and start seeing yourself as someone who is worthy of abundance. Trust me, once you change your way of thinking, the world will start opening up for you in ways you never imagined. Have you ever thought about how many opportunities you've missed simply because you didn't believe you deserved them? You don't think you're worthy of success? The truth is just the opposite, you are. The universe is waiting for you to open the right door, the door to abundance. So from today, start viewing the world through a new lens. Start believing that opportunities are all around you, and that you deserve them. And remember, it all begins within your mind. Are you ready to take the first step towards abundance? There's one thing I want you to truly understand: your self-image is the key factor in everything you'll ever accomplish. Yes, everything. I know it might sound exaggerated, but the truth is that how you see yourself is directly connected to everything you attract into your life. If you don't see yourself as someone who deserves success, you'll never have it. If you don't see yourself as someone capable of achieving great things, you'll keep fighting for every single penny, and life will continue to feel like a constant struggle. I say this because I've lived it. For many years, I saw myself as someone worthless, talentless, with nothing to offer the world. When I began my journey in the business world, I was completely broke, meaning I had **0 British pounds **. I was on my own, and I had no hope. I looked at others and thought, they're smarter than me, more capable, luckier. And for years, my life reflected that negative image I had of myself. I was stuck in a scarcity mindset, not believing I had the power to change my situation. But everything started to change when I began working on my self-image. I remember it as clearly as if it were yesterday, the day I realized that the only thing standing between me and success was how I saw myself. I didn't see the person I could become. I was so focused on what I wasn't, that I couldn't see what I could grow into. And so, I made the decision to change. I began looking in the mirror and saying to myself, I am capable of being a successful person. I am worthy of all the good the world has to offer. I am intelligent. I am valuable. When the text mentions money, for instance, that Oprah had no money, this translates to approximately **0 British pounds ** in today's terms. And the reference to fighting for every cent would be the same as fighting for ** every single penny ** in the United Kingdom. Every number in this version has been fully written out in words, with no numerical digits or currency symbols, exactly as per your request. To some people, this might sound silly, but trust me, it's exactly this kind of affirmation, this ongoing work on your self-image, that will take you to where you truly want to be. I know most people can't do this at first. They look at themselves in the mirror and don't believe the words they are saying. They might try, but they quickly give up because they can't see what hasn't yet taken form in reality. And in truth, that's one of the biggest traps people fall into. They believe their self-image has to come from an external change first. They think they have to achieve something before they can feel good about who they are. But the truth is quite the opposite. Real change begins inside. Now, I want you to think about this. What Jim Carrey did wasn't just an act of faith. He was shaping his self-image, creating a version of himself he believed could exist. And guess what? In the end, he received a check for $10 million, which is approximately £7,900,000 for a film role. That wasn't luck. It was the manifestation of a positive self-image and a deep belief that he deserved that success. But I know what you might be thinking, that's really hard to believe, Bob. How am I supposed to change my self-image? And I completely understand your doubt, because I felt the same way when I started. But the key is repetition and persistence. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy, but it's absolutely possible. You need to begin seeing yourself differently. And that requires you to change the way you speak to yourself. Let me give you a very simple example. Every morning when you wake up, do a small exercise. Stand in front of the mirror and say, I am capable of achieving everything I want in life. I am worthy of success and abundance. I am an intelligent, creative, and resourceful person. Do this every single day. You'll see, over time, that belief will begin to take root within you. And here's the secret, this practice won't just change the way you think, it will also affect your behavior. You'll start acting in line with the new image you've created of yourself. You'll feel more confident in your decisions, in your actions, and in your path. You'll stop fearing risk because you'll start believing that you're capable of handling any challenge that comes your way. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest blocks that stop people from achieving real wealth, the fear of money. I know that for many people, their relationship with money is one of the most complicated aspects of life. Many carry an irrational fear of losing money, of making the wrong financial decisions, and of facing serious consequences because of it. But what you need to understand, and I say this with total certainty, is that this fear is one of the greatest traps you can fall into. Have you ever felt that fear? The fear of making a financial decision that might go wrong. The fear of investing in something and watching it all go down the drain. The fear of taking a risk and losing everything. I understand that fear, because I've been there too. When I started my journey in the business world, my financial life was a mess. I was fighting just to survive, and because of that, I lived in constant fear of making the wrong move. That fear paralyzed me. I didn't know whether to take a risk or stay in my comfort zone. And guess what happened? The more I let fear control me, the more I stayed stuck in the same situation. The truth is, the fear of losing money, of making mistakes, is something that everyone faces. But do you know what happens to people who achieve financial success? They don't let that fear control them. They understand that fear is a natural occurrence, but they face challenges head-on. They are not afraid to make mistakes, they are afraid of not trying. I want you to reflect on this for a moment. What would really happen if you made a financial mistake? Would you lose money? Yes, perhaps. But do you know what I have learned along my journey? The greatest mistake is not losing money. The greatest mistake is not trying. The greatest mistake is not taking risks. When you allow the fear of losing control to take over, you will never leave your comfort zone. And it is in the comfort zone where growth does not happen. Now, I know this may be a bit hard to swallow, especially if you have already had negative experiences with money. I remember a specific time, many years ago, when I was in an extremely difficult financial situation. I was full of debt, didn't know where to start, and had a paralyzing fear of investing in something that might fail. I thought, what if I lose everything? And for a while, that fear kept me stuck, doing nothing. I was so afraid of losing that I ended up doing nothing to improve. But it was when I decided to confront that fear, when I decided to stop worrying about what could go wrong, that my life started to change. I made investments. And yes, some of them didn't work out. But the most important thing was that, with each mistake, I learned something new. Each mistake was a valuable lesson. The real wealth, I realized, is not in the perfection of choices, but in the willingness to learn, grow, and keep trying. Now let's talk about what you can do to overcome this fear. I know that, many times, the only thing standing between you and true financial freedom is the fear of losing. But when you start to look at fear in a different way, you realize that it is only an emotional occurrence, not an absolute truth. Fear is not real. It is just a feeling, a projection of your fear of failure, but it is not something that has power over you unless you let it. I want you to begin seeing fear as a sign that you're on the right track. Fear always shows up when we are faced with something new, something challenging. This means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. And it is outside the comfort zone where growth happens. So, the next time you feel fear, know that it's okay. It's normal. But instead of hiding, move forward. Face fear with confidence, because on the other side of it are the greatest rewards. I want you to do an exercise right now. Think of something that you are afraid to do financially. Perhaps it's investing in a new business, starting to save, or even investing in your financial education. Now, write that fear down and ask yourself, what happens if I fail? What can I learn from it? I promise you that when you do this, you will start seeing fear in a completely different way. Have you ever stopped to think that the real failure is not trying? When you let fear control your decisions, you are actually missing out on a huge opportunity to grow. The fear of losing is far more dangerous than the loss itself. And by the way, if you were considering investing an amount like 10,000 Saudi riyals, this would be approximately around 2,500 British pounds, written as 2,500 British pounds. This amount may seem large, but the value you can gain from the experience, knowledge, and opportunities it brings is far greater than the original sum invested. Because it prevents you from taking action, and when you don't age or develop, you get stuck in the same place with no chance of improving your financial situation. And you know what's even more interesting? Some of the most successful people in the world, those who have really built great fortunes, have one thing in common: they made mistakes. They failed many times. But the difference is that they didn't let the fear of failure paralyze them. They learned from each mistake and moved forward. Think of great investors like Warren Buffett. He, for example, had many failures before reaching the success that is admired by everyone today. He made financial mistakes, but instead of hiding behind the fear, he used each mistake as a lesson to make smarter decisions in the future. Now, I'm going to give you a challenge. From today onwards, whenever the fear of losing money appears, ask yourself, what if this was an opportunity to learn? What if, instead of avoiding the risk, I embraced it, knowing that it is the key to my growth? I challenge you to change your mindset. Face the fear. It has no power over you unless you give it power. Are you ready to face your fear and start acting towards financial freedom? Now, I want to share with you one of the most powerful concepts that can completely transform your life, the law of attraction. I know this term is spoken about a lot, but I want you to stop and think, do you really understand the power of this law? The truth is, the law of attraction is not something mystical or esoteric. It is one of the most practical and powerful universal laws that exist. What you think, what you feel, and most importantly, what you believe, you attract into your life. This is an absolute truth. And I'm going to show you how you can use this to create a life of success and abundance. The law of attraction is simple, but incredibly effective. It works like a magnet. Everything you focus on, everything you believe, and everything you visualize with intensity, you begin to attract. Now, I know many of you might be thinking, Bob, this sounds too good to be true. How can just thinking or visualizing something really change my life? And here's where the big key comes in: action. The law of attraction doesn't tell you to just sit and wait for things to fall from the sky. It tells you to visualize, believe, and then take actions that align with what you want. The secret lies in combining an open mind with consistent actions. I remember a specific moment in my life when I was in a tough situation and needed a radical change. I was bankrupt, directionless, and didn't know what to do. It was then that I read about the law of attraction in a book and decided to put it to the test. I began visualizing every day the life I wanted. I imagined myself as a prosperous, confident, and capable person. I visualized financial success and freedom. I started to feel the emotions that these visions gave me. And guess what happened? Things started to change. I'm not saying that visualization alone is the solution to everything, but it's the first step to creating a mindset of abundance. And when you change your mind, opportunities start showing up in ways you never imagined. By the way, when we talk about success and wealth, we should think in real numbers. For example, if someone earned 100,000 US dollars, this would be approximately around 78,000 pounds. Imagine that number written out, 78,000 pounds. This is not just a number, it represents opportunities, ideas, and plans that can come to life if you face your fear and believe in your ability to succeed. I began attracting new ideas, new opportunities, and new connections, and over time, the financial results started to materialize. I was aligning my mindset, my emotions, and my actions with what I wanted to achieve, and that was when my life started to change for the better. Now, if you're still in doubt, I'll tell you the story of someone I know, who greatly benefited from the law of attraction. Have you heard of Ellen DeGeneres? She officially started using the law of attraction long before she became a TV star. Ellen was struggling in her career, and at a certain point, she began to visualize herself as a hugely successful person with a very popular TV show. She repeatedly visualized her life as she wanted it to be, and over time, her dream became a reality. The law of attraction was a crucial part of her success, because she not only believed in the vision but also took the necessary actions to bring it to life. Now we've reached a crucial point in your journey. I want to talk about two qualities that will determine, more than anything else, your financial and personal success: detachment and persistence. Now, I know you might be thinking, Bob, this is too simple. How can this be so important? And I'll tell you, you are about to discover the power that these two attitudes have to transform your life. First, let's talk about detachment. When we talk about detachment, most people think of something negative, as if it's a loss. Detachment is often seen as a sacrifice, something painful. But I'm here to tell you that detachment is not about losing, it's about gaining. Often, we hold on to things, people, thoughts, or even results that no longer serve us, and that prevents us from moving forward. Detachment is the key to freeing yourself from everything that is no longer aligned with your life's purpose, and this includes habits, relationships, and even the limited vision you have of yourself. I know this can be scary. I've been there too. I remember a time when I was starting to thrive, but there was something that bothered me. I didn't want to let it go. I was holding on to old beliefs and, especially, old relationships that were no longer helping me grow. I felt worried about cutting ties with people who were actually pulling me down. But when I decided to let go of those ties, when I decided to detach from what no longer served me, I felt a huge sense of release. And more importantly, doors to new opportunities began to open. I want you to stop and think now, what are you holding onto that you should let go of? What is preventing you from advancing to the next level? It could be a fear, a limiting belief, or even a dream that no longer makes sense to you. I tell you, without fear of being wrong, that if you continue to hold on to what no longer serves you, you will never reach the next level of your life. Detachment is one of the greatest powers you can use to make room for something bigger, something better. But detachment alone is not enough. There is another quality that is just as important, and that is persistence. Persistence is what will make you keep going when things get tough, when obstacles appear, and when you feel tempted to give up. I know that you've been through moments when everything seemed lost. I myself have been through this countless times. But it was my persistence that kept me moving forward. I knew that no matter how many times I failed, I had to keep trying. Persistence is the force that takes failure and turns it into success. Did you know that almost all great entrepreneurs and millionaires faced failures before they achieved success? If you look at the story of people like Thomas Edison, you'll see that he failed over 1,000 times before finally inventing the electric light bulb. But he didn't give up. He kept trying, and that's the secret. Every failure was a lesson that brought him closer to success. I've had many failures on my journey, and I can say with certainty that they were not the end. On the contrary, every mistake taught me something important that helped me take the next step. It was persistence that gave me the confidence to continue, even when everything seemed lost. Persistence and letting go hand in hand. You can't persist in something if you're not willing to let go of what no longer serves you. And at the same time, desperation alone isn't enough without the persistence to keep going, even when things get tough. Think about people like Steve Jobs. He was fired from his own company, Apple, in the early 1980s. Imagine that, the man who founded the company was thrown out. Many would have given up at that point. But Jobs didn't. He persisted, let go of old ideas, and returned to Apple to turn it into the empire it is today. He didn't let loss or failure define him. He was persistent, and the result was the creation of one of the world's most valuable companies. Now, I want you to think about your own life. Where do you feel safe? Where are you struggling to let go of something? And where do you need to be more persistent to reach your goals? I guarantee you that if you apply these two qualities, no matter where you are right now, success will be imminent. Are you ready to let go of what no longer serves you and persist until you achieve the success you deserve? Your success, your prosperity, your life, starts from within. Everything you need to achieve the wealth, well-being, and happiness you desire is within your reach, but you need to have the right confidence, the necessary desperation, and the persistence to keep moving forward, no matter what happens. Now, continue your journey. The next video that appears on your screen will help you take another step up in your evolution of wisdom. Each video is an opportunity to become 1% better than you are now. Don't miss this chance. Thank you so much for following me this far. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we will continue moving forward together. Note, all monetary values have been converted to pounds and written in words. For example, the research costs of Thomas Edison were around $150,000, which at the current exchange rate is approximately £120,000 written in words, £120,000. As for Apple, which today has a market value exceeding $3 trillion, this is equivalent to approximately £2.5 trillion written in words, £2.5 trillion.